My name is Marta Ochoa, and I represent the Alliance Against Pay TV Piracy, Alianza in Spanish. So let me tell you a little bit about Alianza and what we do. So Alianza is a pay TV association with the goal to fight piracy in Latin America. Now, even though we have a regional focus, which is Latin America, because piracy nowadays has a global impact, our efforts actually impact the world. So Alianza is formed by 14 very large companies, just to name a few, DirecTV as an operator, programmers such as HBO, ESPN, LaLiga, Discovery, among others. So people in Alianza, we're a big group, and people in Alianza have a particular set of skills to fight piracy, a bunch of experts dealing with piracy. Just to give you some more perspective about piracy in Latin America, in 2018, the impact to pay TV operators was about $6.5 billion in losses, and for programmers, over $2 billion. The impact in taxes is also pretty high. We're talking about the billions, and 50,000 jobs were lost due to piracy just in 2018. So this to give you an idea of the importance of piracy in Latin America and in the world. Today here we have experts in Europe and also working, doing efforts in the world. Let me introduce you to them, and let's ask them about the situation here in Europe in particular. So by my side, the first expert from the Jupiler Pro League is Leander Monbaliu. Hello, how are you, Leander? Fine. Cameron Andrews from BeIN Media Group. Hello, Andrew, Cameron. Emilio Fernandez from LaLiga. And I know it was announced Fernando and Rile, but we have Adolfo from Movistar here. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for accepting the last-minute change. It's very interesting to have Adolfo here because this panel is experts in different areas of the business, and in particular, Adolfo represents Movistar Plus, which is a different view of piracy. So we appreciate that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, Emilio from LaLiga, let me ask you the first question. Sometimes people ask me, and people tend to believe that who's behind piracy? Sometimes people believe there are a couple of guys in a garage, like streaming good matches to their friends. But what actually is it behind piracy and this industry that make us lose billions of dollars?
Well, thank you, Marta. The people in the garage and get, for example, our match free because they are very good person and they want to give to the people our content free. That is not true. In the reality, is behind the piracy are a lot of people to make a lot of money. We have some IPTVs in our database. After I will speak about that. That the infrastructure of that IPTVs is about 2 or 3 million of euros. If you spend 2 or 3 million of euros, you maybe want to make 4 or 5 million of euros. It's not two boys in the garage, only making this free because they want to pass a good time. It's people to make a lot of money.
So it's kind of an organized business rather than...
It's a very organized business and a very big business.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. And for you, thank you for putting that perspective. Let's talk about LaLiga in particular. I was hearing yesterday the president of LaLiga. I think probably all of you were there. And it was very interesting because he explained the strategy of LaLiga and the business and the impacts that LaLiga is doing in the world. But he also talked about piracy. So what is it that is part of the strategy of LaLiga? Could you explain? He didn't go through much yesterday, but he gave a few hints.
Well, for us, it's crucial, the anti-piracy fighting. Why? Because we sell our right, our broadcasters, but for us, it's not enough that we want to collaborate with them in this fighting. We don't want to leave our broadcaster around the world alone with this fighting. We know that we have a problem with this, but together I think we have to fight about this.
And Leander, thank you. So I understand that there is kind of a collaboration effort between, Jupiler, Pro League, and LaLiga. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, sure. Thank you. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, before the previous cycle, during the negotiations, we had a lot of discussions with our broadcasters who were aware of the problem, as were we, but we were in a non-exclusive environment with the broadcasters, and we kind of were looking for new ways of dealing with the issue of anti-piracy, which is becoming bigger in Belgium as well. And we installed a working group. We had discussions with a lot of third-party vendors to see who could help us best with dealing with these issues. And we had talks with Emilio and his team, and quite naturally it became clear that it would be an interesting thing to start a unique collaboration between leagues, where we, being a smaller league with less people, less expertise, to be fair, we're able to leverage on the tools that LaLiga has been using and developing in-house for the past few years. They work on, they go through social media, apps, IPTV, websites, and they have a very pragmatic way of blocking everything, and we have a very good cooperation with them.
Thank you, Leander. And talking about, tools and the impact of these tools and the strategy, Cameron, I have a question for you. Why is illegal streaming? Got it? Why is illegal streaming so bad?
Look, I think it's because it's just very easy for people to do. I mean, it's true, it is big business, but actually we've reached a tipping point with the technology where it's very easy for people to set themselves up in the world of pirate IPTV. I mean, if you just YouTube, how to set up an IPTV business, you'll find how to do it. And it's very simple. There's layers of resellers and restreamers. There's hubs out there of people who are doing the direct copying and restreaming, and then there's a whole network of restreamers and resellers who are all making money out of doing it. But the reason why it's happening is because we've reached a point with the internet where it's very easy, and in fact, all you really need to do is plug a cable into the back of the HDMI output of a set-top box. And away you go. You can buy the server capacity that you need in the cloud. There's loads of tutorials, and there's things like there's extreme codes and all these panels and means for people to do this very easily. So it stands to reason that we are facing such a big problem from piracy.
Thank you for the explanation. And you mentioned in your answer IPTV. Could you explain to the audience just a little bit what IPTV is? It might be someone that doesn't know.
Yeah, sure. So the internet streaming problem breaks down really into 3 categories. The first are these streaming websites that we've known about for a long time, like Roa Director, and sites where you can go and it used to be in quite poor quality, but the quality is certainly improved now, and you can go and view the content in a browser. These are sort of morphed more into apps. Second category, social media, live streaming. So, Facebook and YouTube and Dailymotion and all of these social media platforms. But the third category is IPTV. So this is generally subscription services. It's Android boxes that either come with an app already preloaded, or you can go and download the app. And what they do is they provide access at a very cheap price and very high quality to thousands of channels 24/7. So, you might pay $50 for a year's subscription and be able to simply plug and play and then stream thousands of channels from all around the world. And these really are the business killer for the pay TV model.
And where are these boxes manufactured? Is anything staying in the country, or is it manufactured somewhere else and People get the money somewhere else?
Well, the real challenge is the boxes themselves are non-infringing. The boxes generally are manufactured in China. Certainly, masses of it comes out of China. Not just China, but that's a big epicenter for it. The boxes themselves, though, as I say, are non-infringing. They're just generally Android boxes. It's the apps that people then load onto the boxes that make available the content.
This is very interesting, and I asked that question because that's a conversation that, as Alianza, we have with government officials very often, that nothing stays in the countries where these boxes are sold in terms of benefits. Most of these boxes are manufactured somewhere else and mostly imported, at least in Latin America, illegally. And those that are imported legally are then uploaded with illegal applications that allow people to access content, again, illegally, with a huge impact for the countries, for harm to users because of the steal of data from the user, tax evasion. So we're talking about a lot of illegal activities here in order to make money by stealing content, right? So let me ask you, Adolfo, Remacha, Gonzalez, a question. And again, this panel is very interesting because of the different sides of the content business. So tell me, how important is content to Movistar, and what has Movistar Plus done to combat piracy?
Morning. Good morning. Well, contents, I'd say in one sentence that Movistar or Telefónica firmly believes that it is one of the key factors of its success. Without a doubt, it is the key factor of the differentiation that Movistar wants to seek amongst the other telco operators in the country, as well as in the Latin America, where Movistar is, Telefónica is also present. To show that, I'd say that Telefónica, some 4 years ago, purchased Canal Plus, which used to be the incumbent pay TV operator in Spain with the most exclusive contents, both in the field of sports and in the films and series, etc. That shows how important contents are for Telefónica. But not only that, because in the following years we are starting now a 3-year cycle of TV rights of LaLiga with a new contract we've signed last summer or something like that, and not for a cheap price, I have to say. So that's how important contents are for Telefónica, as well as in the other field of the film and series. Of course, we have agreements with all the majors and independent distributors. And we have another example, very recent, in an agreement that we have recently signed with Atresmedia for the development of a series and films together to compete, hopefully with Netflix, Amazon, and others. So that's how important it is, a continuous search of having the most exclusive contents. What have we done so far, and what are we going to do in the near future to beat the piracy, or at least to try to beat the piracy? As in Canal Plus, we know a lot about this, about piracy, because in the old times we had the old ways of piracy, which were to hack the smart cards. That's no longer the case. But now we have the new methods that have been already mentioned, like streaming or card sharing. In both cases, we have a constant evolution of our conditional access systems and our DRMs, and we try to be always, I was going to say, ahead of the bad guys. That's no normally possible, but we try to be not too far from them. And we also have something to mention here, a very recent, it's still hot agreement we have signed, I think yesterday, with LaLiga. yesterday morning, so cannot be more recent, to fight against piracy with a commitment of Telefonica or Movistar Plus and spending millions of euros and with the help of LaLiga, it's a combined action to fight against car sharing, streaming, illegal IPTV, because Movistar Plus is a legal IPTV operation too. So there's legal IPTV, but to fight the illegal IPTV, and that's our commitment, and that's what we are going to do in the next few years.
Thank you. And it's very interesting that, we keep referring this panel to legal and illegal, like legal IPTV, illegal IPTV, legal app. And that's very important, because legal means that someone had the rights to show or broadcast content. And why that is important? Because we need a sustainable business so that we can reinvest and have, in particular in sports, healthy industry, healthy community. So the difference is key here, again, in particular with sports. Now, it seems obvious that piracy impacts large companies. So when we think of piracy and we think of, LaLiga and it's obvious in everybody's mind, yes, of course, there is piracy. Everybody wants to see those games. However, piracy impacts all the companies, in particular growing companies. So, Leander, could you tell me how piracy impacts your company in particular?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it goes hand in hand with the popularity of the content. And for us as Jupiler Pro League, we are a growing league, and therefore, because of the fact that content is becoming more popular, at the same time, piracy is becoming increasingly important for us, and we see, because as Cameron says, because of the fact that it's that easy to get that pirated content and to make a business out of it, it is of course increasingly important and becoming a bigger problem for us as well. And those apps that are showing LaLiga will be offering Jupiler Pro League too. They are able to offer a complete package of TV content, of sports content. So yeah, it's certainly as much of an issue for us as it is for LaLiga or other countries.
Exactly. In particular, to be able to grow a business and offer better content and the best content all the time, you need to invest, right? So, Cameron, a question for you. Can this be stopped with technology?
Technology alone, no. Technology is part of it, but you can't stop restreaming by technology. There isn't a technological solution to stop people from restreaming channels over the internet. There are a few things that you can do, and I think it really boils down to about 5 things, which are the weapons we have against piracy. And technology plays a role in to varying degrees in each of those. I mean, the first thing you have to do is maintain strong conditional access and DRM systems and keep your platform secure. Because if your platform is leaky, then you will absolutely be a target for streaming and traditional hacking-based piracy. So that's the first thing. Next thing is monitoring, which goes hand in hand with sending of takedown notices. So technology is involved in that because it happens on such a scale that you need to build platforms that can ingest all of these feeds and crawl the internet for all these feeds and have a panel of all the IPTV services all in there, and you can monitor and manage all of that in an efficient way. So technology lies behind that, and people either do that internally or they'll outsource to a vendor. Once you're doing the monitoring, you then need to send takedown notices. Unfortunately, takedown notices aren't terribly effective. It's still an important thing that we do, but the problem is we don't get very good compliance, and that's essentially a legal problem, and we need the help of government to address that. After takedown notices, I think watermarking is very important. It's not going to be the silver bullet. Within BeIN, we've rolled out watermarking across our whole platform, and we've seen some good results from it. But pirates evolve and adapt very quickly, and I can tell you watermarking alone will not solve the piracy problem, but it's very important. Blocking, so website blocking, and in some jurisdictions where it's available, server-based blocking is also really important. Again, it won't solve piracy alone, but it's a very important tool, and we need law reform to help us and cooperation from third-party platforms in order to be able to pursue that more effectively and in more places. And then I think the final thing is traditional investigation and enforcement. There's a bit of a role for technology there because some of the investigations you need to do have a technical component to it. But actually, this is an old-fashioned investigation and law enforcement or civil action process. And, you know, within BeIN, we've done some of those, and there's been a lot of very high-profile industry actions taken of late, including one actually just, I think it was last week. So yeah, it boils down really to probably 5 things.
Yeah, exactly. A set of solutions, right? It's very complex, especially within that. For example, how long does a game last? Hour and a half, right? Let's say, give and take.
Well, that's the big problem with the law, isn't it? When it comes to takedown notices, you need instant compliance. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't get compliance at all, or maybe 2 days later, by which time everyone's long forgotten about the match.
Yeah, exactly. And Emilio, I have a question for you. Cameron is talking about the set of different aspects that are part of a solution. I know, and I think we all know that LaLiga has done significant investments in technology to fight piracy. Could you tell us more about that strategy and what tools are involved into that?
Yes, look, I am 100% agree with say Cameron about the broadcaster need to have a very good security, like DRM and watermarking. Okay, that's I think is in the hand of the broadcaster. But La Liga, for us, is crucial to fight against piracy. It's very important, and we develop different tools. Okay, we develop Marauder, Lumiere, and Black Hole. What is Marauder? Marauder helps to us in social media. Okay, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week, try to find our content. Imagine that tomorrow is a match between Real Madrid Betis. We write the keywords Real Madrid Betis, and the tool is try to find our content around Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. When Marauder find the content, we make a complaint, and automatically the social media remove. Okay, we remove about 98% of the videos we find. We remove of La Liga and the Jupiler Pro League.
You said 98%?
98%, yeah. In the web, it's similar. We find different. You write, for example, Real Madrid Betis, and find the page, the illegal page. We have a very good agreement with Google, and all that link we destination in Google. Okay, but like say Cameron Perfect, to block a page, illegal page, we have to spend 1 year, more or less 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. Another tool we develop is Lumiere. Lumiere is very important for our legal team. What do Lumiere? Is investigate who is the owner of the legal page, who is the service provider, where are the service providers, in what country are the service providers, what is the IP, find the relation between different illegal pages. With all this information, we make a report and we get to our legal team. But we have to spend 1 year. Okay, that is the problem. And the last tool we develop is Black Hole. How work Black Hole? Black Hole for me is the best tool we develop with La Liga. It's a database of IPTV. We have now 300 IPTV. We buy the subscription of that IPTV, and we know about that IPTV, what is the IP address, what is the company gives the support, what is the relation between, like Andrew explained before, perfect, what is the relations between the different IPTV lines, and what we can do with that. Now in Spain, the only we can do is go to the law with our legal team, open a process in the courts. And we had to spend 1 year. and maybe if we have another law, maybe in minutes we can block that IPTVs. That is the three tools we develop in LaLiga, and we develop another. The last one is Neko, to help us in YouTube. Okay, but that is the last tool.
So pretty much like Mr. Tebas was explaining yesterday when he said we need to know our customers. What you're saying is that we need to know the parrot, and you need to monitor and know and understand how they think, how they work, the business model, right? And I think that some of you refer here to social media, and you mentioned Google, platforms. It seems to me that they have kind of a reactive response to, like you said, we have collaboration agreements, to piracy, meaning you need to detect first and then ask for
I know
blocking.
that is a very good question, but I am happy with the relation I have with Google, with Facebook, with YouTube. I think they collaborate with us. Maybe they can make more, sure, but I am happy to find a video and they remove immediately, more or less 5 minutes. Maybe the video we spend more time to remove. But for me now, social media, we can find more videos, of course, but I am happy. But for me, the problem is not the social media. For me, the problem is IPTV.
Yeah, and the rest of the world that, like Cameron said, is non-compliant with takedown requests. When you're saying, this is my content, please remove this from your platform or server, and they just don't comply. Because in some countries, the laws allow, in most countries, allow for parents to just, steal content.
That is the problem. The service provider, they don't remove the content, but the social networks, the social media, they remove the contents. Google remove the contents. Maybe 5 years ago, if you asked me that question 5 years ago, maybe I will say something different. But today, I am happy with Facebook, with Twitter, with YouTube.
So we're improving.
We are improving.
That's good.
The problem is the illegal page and IPTV, and the case we have in Spain, very special, the car sharing. That is for me, the problems we have to work to try to find a solution faster than today.
And I have, Adolfo, I have a question for you. Here, Emilio and Cameron and Leander mentioned the several companies or groups involved, like the value chain, like the chain of companies that need to support this fight against piracy and that should be involved. In that sense, you being, internet service provider, operator, broadcaster, could you tell me who those key players should be and how?
That's right. Everyone involved in the distribution of contents has an interest in this distribution is made only legally. If the business of the final operator is threatened by the piracy, then the business of the rest of the actors is also threatened. The content providers, the legal content providers in the first place, we have a good example here with LaLiga. They are fully committed on this battle because they understand perfectly that this is in their interest too. And everyone has to contribute to this fight. Content providers, like LaLiga is saying, but also things like fingerprinting, so that pirate contents could be tracked afterwards. Of course, the legal framework should be optimized for this process we are describing here, and you find it very different from country to country. And when servers are located in certain countries, then you can forget about tear them down, because this is never going to happen. And of course, broadcasters or TV operators have to have their CAS and DRM systems optimized, updated. And of course, ISP providers can do things, although again, this has to do with the legal framework of each country, because illegal protocols could be detected by the ISP providers, but it is not easy that they can be blocked because of the laws in every country. Again, laws. And like I said, everyone has to do its part in this fight, which we know will never be complete. We will never get rid of this because what internet provides and the several tools makes it very difficult to get rid of it. But at least I think we are committed to try and make it more difficult for them, more uncomfortable, more for the regular person to think, okay, I'm getting this for free or for a very low price, but it doesn't have the quality that I want to have. It breaks sometimes quality is not good, then why don't I go for a legal subscription? I think that's our goal. And everyone in this value chain has to contribute.
Thank you for that. And Leander, I have a question for you. So do you face the same challenges and what's the next step?
I mean, for us, I think we do, the challenges are quite the same. It's both the technology. I think a lot of technology already exists. As Emilio said, there's certain limits on the use of that technology because the laws don't permit you to do that. At the same time, it's also the regulatory framework. I think that's crucial. In Belgium, we can go to court. We can ask for with the evidence we gather to block certain websites, but then it takes months, and then it's too late. At the same time, I also believe that we should invest in having a product together with our broadcasters that fills in the needs, or that from young people, from people that want to watch on their phone, maybe not in a traditional way, and to get them to a legal subscription. So I think it's technology, it's a regulatory framework, and it's having a product that is available also in those countries where maybe today you're not present. We've recently signed deals in India and Korea, and that's also important for us to be available in all those countries.
Add something to that. I think an important thing for the industry to acknowledge actually is it's a challenge for the whole industry to resource tackling this problem. All these things we've discussed, I mentioned 5 things, and I think we've touched on all of those different things. All these tools that we can do, we can use, but all of them actually take a significant investment of resources. A part of it is the lobbying for better laws, and that alone takes a lot of investment of time and resources. And I think within a lot of organisations, it's a real struggle to work out just what sort of financial commitment to make to both staffing and investing in technology and investing in suppliers, because you don't see, it's hard in ordinary commercial terms to see what the payback is for the investment you make. So I appreciate why that is a struggle, but unless broadcasters, rights owners, intermediaries, other people involved in the content distribution chain don't start to invest in what's required to tackle piracy, then we're not going to get it under control.
Thank you for that. So Emilio and Adolfo, 30-second last thought or comment?
Well, don't repeat the same, I agree with the two. For me, the biggest challenge we have for the future and today is the IPTV. The people is paying for illegal content. We have to understand that the people is paying for illegal content. All of us, we understand that if we go to the supermarket and we want to buy something and we don't pay, we are stealing. And the people, when they watch something in internet or buy a subscription of IPTV, they don't believe that they are really stealing the content. For us, we spend a lot of money, all of us, to protect our content. And the biggest challenge for me is IPTV, and I would like to have a law help to us to be faster to block IPTV and illegal streaming, because technology is too easy to block. Today, the tools, we have all the tools for block, but not have the law.
I was going to say about the same for the public. In this country, in particular, in this country, for some years, it has been cool to take contents for free in the internet. and that is totally unfair. It's and will end up with all the content business. I have to say now it's not that difficult to pay a reasonable amount of money for legal content. And whenever I can, I encourage people, young people even, to go for the legal solutions to enjoy contents. Otherwise, the whole business will be destroyed. There'll be no good players in the league. There'll be no good movies in our TV sets, etc. So it's a message of please do not do that.
I think that's a great message, and I will, as I take away from the panel, I think that it was clear that piracy is a global issue, super complex, because it involves technology, it involves using the internet. So the same way that we enjoy, development and communication tools, the pirate uses them as well, and laws normally are behind that evolution of technology. I don't know if you remember, because you seem to be all very young, but when I was a little girl back in Argentina, TV was free and content was free, but you had like 5 channels in black and white. I think that was the most that you had for a few hours. And nowadays, like I think Emilio, you mentioned, or Cameron, you have to pay for stuff, right? We pay for the cell phone and pay for food, and we pay for content, because content is entertainment, and it's getting together, especially sports, with our families and our communities and our friends. And we want content everywhere nowadays, with social media, and talk to our friends during the game, and see the goals and enjoy and sometimes cry, depending on your team. But I'm a fan of sports, and particular football. And the question is, like Adolfo said, we want people at the end of the day to choose and decide for your team, and to choose legal content and legal platforms and legal TV. The question is, are you a fan? Are you ready to vote on your team and protect it? So the experts offer the solutions that we do from the industry, and for the rest of us, it's just, the choice to do the best and the right thing. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here. I think we have a question, yes.
I'll give you my example that I come from India, and I am right now in Paris, and I wanted to watch Premier League. So I took a subscription of RMC, because RMC is the EPL provider over there. But then the content is in French. So you have to understand that now the game is becoming more global, the audiences are global, and now they would want their content to be in a more global language. Customers don't mind paying, but then eventually the customers also have to be taken care about. So now when you talk about BeIN Sports, so I see that they have multiple English channels. So it is easy for a fan to watch any football on that particular channel, because they offer that advantage to a customer that you can choose your language. So don't you think that this particular development is important? And when you say that, content, and take an example of Netflix. So the same Netflix, you just have to buy it in one country, and then you get the language as and when you move across the countries. So how do you see that, I understand you are talking from a provider's point of view, but then how about talking from the customer's point of view? We would not hesitate paying, but then we would want things to be accustomed to his own way.
So, Cameron, would you like?
Look, I think that's a fair point to bring up. And in fact, I think one of the big early drivers of IPTV, pirate IPTV, was actually expat communities. I remember more than 10 years ago, good friends moving to Thailand and saying, "Oh, it's great because I found this thing, this service on the internet, and I can keep watching BBC." And actually, that service they were using turned into one of the big ones in Asia, which I know a big action has recently been taken against. So I think that's true, and I think it comes back to the point that businesses, the industry that we're in, needs to properly invest in piracy and properly understand piracy, including the commercial drivers for it. and piracy can't just be put into a corner and it's like, oh, the piracy specialist will look after that, because it isn't just a technical thing that has to be solved anymore. There's all these different aspects which actually cut across the whole business. So I think if those of us in the content industry on the commercial side start to have a better grasp of what some of the drivers are of piracy and what the impact of piracy is on the business, I think it will become more clear about what some of the solutions are for some of the issues that you've addressed.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes.
Question for Cameron. One of the common threads, sorry, Frank Adolfo, Small Business Group. One of the common threads is that technology can be effective up to the point that it bumps up against an unresponsive regulatory framework. Why do you think governments are not providing the content industry with the protection it needs?
History. So the history and politics, really. The current system for regulating the internet, so all this streaming that's happening over the internet, really goes back to the DMCA, the US Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which came about in the 1990s, and it was there to give a leg up to the tech industry. It was copied in Europe through the e-commerce directive, and so now we've got that model in the US and Europe. And in fact, we were just talking before that actually it's some of the smaller markets that are not quite so tied into that system that are actually making more progress in addressing some of these issues. So you've got that baggage, and it's very hard to unpick that now. And also, about 10 years ago, there was a massive debate in the US around what was called SOPA and PIPA. So these were two acts that were intended basically to provide website blocking. That was the main thing, website blocking in the US, and people came out on the streets to oppose that. And there was a history to that which led to that, that groundswell of political opposition. And I think it's beginning to change, but particularly in the US and in Europe to some extent, there's a great reluctance of lawmakers to address this issue because they remember those days and they had never experienced people coming out on the street before to oppose copyright laws. And unfortunately, we are still dealing with the baggage of that.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here.